As of October 4th, 2025, a new economic reality is being forged in steel and speed. While America debates its industrial future, China has quietly completed a project of staggering scale, a modern-day Silk Road, powered by freight trains instead of camels. This network has now moved over $450 billion worth of goods between China and Europe, a profound shift in the global balance of power. The rails stretch across continents, pumping Chinese goods directly into Europe, bypassing traditional sea lanes and Western-dominated trade infrastructure. This milestone is more than a number. It's a strategic victory for Beijing. The China-Europe freight train network is faster, more predictable, and increasingly the preferred route for high-value products. Every shipment pulls European economies closer into China's orbit. By dominating this land-based corridor, China gains leverage over the flow of goods that power the global economy. While the world focused on trade wars, China laid tracks that are reshaping global commerce. For the US, this is a wake-up call. The $450 billion figure is proof of China's long-term vision and relentless execution. The question isn't if this will impact America, but how deeply it already has. The China-Europe rail network is a sprawling web, connecting 128 Chinese cities to 229 cities across 26 European countries, and reaching into 11 other Asian nations. Imagine a train leaving Yiwu, China, and arriving in London just over 2 weeks later. That's the new reality. This system shrinks Eurasia, turning remote regions into vital transit hubs. Sea freight takes 30-45 days. Air is fast but costly. Rail cuts transit time by more than half, at a fraction of the cost. Reliability is invaluable, especially during disruptions like the Suez Canal blockage. China's investment wasn't just about tracks, it's a high-tech ecosystem, with digital platforms streamlining customs in minutes, not days. This efficiency slashes costs and delays, pushing more companies to shift from ships to trains. In the first 5 months of 2025, China-EU trade rose nearly 3%, reaching $317 billion, much of it thanks to the rail network. Chinese goods are more competitive in Europe, and European products reach China's vast market faster. This growing interdependence is quietly reorienting European trade priorities toward the east. The Iron Silk Road isn't just a route, it's a new axis of global commerce. The world's economic map is being redrawn, one train at a time. The cargo on these rails tells the story of China's industrial evolution. Once dominated by low-value goods, today, over 60% of China-Europe rail freight is high-value: machinery, electronics, and electric vehicles. The new three exports, EVs, lithium-ion batteries, and solar panels, are now the stars, with rail critical to their global reach. Electric cars and batteries are sensitive and expensive to ship. Rail's speed and safety give Chinese brands a major edge. This shift proves China is no longer just the world's factory for cheap goods. It's a powerhouse in high-tech production. Factories are strategically located near rail hubs, creating a seamless pipeline from assembly line to European showroom. European and American automakers now compete not just on price, but on speed and availability. China's integrated planning maximizes export efficiency and market penetration. As more high-value supply chains run through this network, China's control over critical technologies grows. The Iron Silk Road is now a conveyor belt for the engines of the future. Every train strengthens China's grip on global industry. China's control of this vast rail network, combined with its manufacturing power, creates a new choke point in global trade. For centuries, maritime powers shaped the world. Now, China is building a land-based equivalent. By owning the most efficient overland route between Asia and Europe, Beijing can influence who gets what and when. This isn't theory. It's a reality businesses must now plan for. If maritime routes are disrupted, the China-Europe Railway becomes the only viable alternative for moving goods at scale. Countries aligned with Beijing keep their supply chains intact. Others risk being left behind. This leverage can't be countered by naval power alone. As Europe grows more integrated with China, American companies may struggle to compete. China isn't just moving goods, it's exporting its standards, technology, and influence with every container. The global order is shifting, and the rules are being rewritten on China's tracks. In response to China's dominance, The US is betting big on semiconductors. Since 2022, over $450 billion has been committed to building a domestic chip supply chain. The goal: reclaim technological leadership and secure America's economic future. 17 major semiconductor projects are underway, with the US projected to control 30% of advanced chip capacity by 2032. Arizona's new TSMC fab is already producing advanced chips, but building factories is only half the battle. Chip plants need over 100 specialized chemicals and materials, many sourced from abroad. By 2030, the US will still import about 60% of these essentials. Closing this gap requires billions more in investment, but private funding falls short. The risk: America's new fabs could be idled by a single missing material. The lesson: factories alone don't guarantee independence. Supply chain security is the real challenge. America's reliance on foreign materials is the Achilles heel of its chip strategy. Take tungsten: over 90% comes from China and Russia. A single export restriction could halt US fabs. The same goes for high-purity chemicals like hydrogen fluoride. China supplies 70% of the world's supply. Even rare earths mined in the US are shipped to China for processing, then bought back at a premium. This dependency creates a fragile system where a single disruption can shut down billion-dollar factories. For chip makers, raw materials are a small cost, but a huge risk. The real priority is a stable, uninterrupted supply. America's most advanced industries remain vulnerable to decisions made in Beijing. The $450 billion investment is at risk if the material supply chain isn't secured. Without control over these inputs, independence is an illusion. The greatest threat to America's chip ambitions is a supply chain it doesn't own. The clock is ticking. US-China trade tensions have shifted to a new front: the supply chain. In 2025, the US imposed new tariffs. China responded with targeted export controls on rare metals vital for semiconductors. The impact was immediate. American industries faced shortages and soaring prices. China also blacklisted US companies, sending a clear warning: economic weapons are now in play. By restricting exports of materials like tungsten and gallium, China can cripple entire US industries. This is asymmetrical leverage. America may have a bigger economy, but China controls the inputs US tech can't function without. The trade war is now about national security, not just economics. China's actions have exposed deep vulnerabilities in America's supply chains. The question isn't just about jobs. It's about whether the US can keep its industries running in a crisis. The battleground is no longer tariffs, but the building blocks of the modern world. Washington and corporate America are scrambling to adapt. The stakes: economic survival in a world of weaponized supply chains. The outcome will shape the future of global power. What can the US do? The path is tough, but not impossible. First, America must onshore the entire chip supply chain. Not just fabs, but chemicals, gases, and minerals. The government needs to close the $4 billion investment gap for materials production, using grants and partnerships. Second, the US must build resilient supply chains with allies: Australia, Canada, Japan, Europe, creating redundancy and reducing dependence on China. Friendshoring is essential for a stable supply of critical materials. Third, America needs a long-term strategy. Invest in R&D for substitutes, boost recycling, and streamline permitting for domestic mining. Balancing security and environmental standards is key. This is about more than economics. It's national sovereignty and future prosperity. The nation that leads in advanced tech will set the course for the 21st century. Without secure supplies, America risks falling behind. The choices made now: invest, innovate, collaborate, will decide if the future is built on American strength or foreign dependence. The time to act is now.